Welcome back to Uncomfortable Conversations, where we talk about everything uncomfortable, from the herpes on your lip to your failed relationships. Today, we have a very special guest by the name of Mac Main. We about to get to it. Let's get it. Brother Mac, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you stopping through, brother.
I appreciate the thought of this bringing me in your environment. I appreciate that, man.
I had to because you are a very interesting being, sir.
I appreciate that. I don't know how to look at that, but
So let's start it off, man. Let's start it off. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about your childhood.
So, I mean, that's a long story, maybe a 47-year-old story, you know. I can start off humble, which I was, very much so. I was raised by my grandmother.
Yeah.
We had a house full of people, my uncle, my aunt, myself, my mom, but she wasn't my particular caregiver at the time. She suffered some things that disallowed her to be able to parent with me.
Yeah.
And we may be getting to that a little bit.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I had what I would consider a normal childhood.
Was Pops around?
No pops.
No Pops?
Don't even know who he is, which is unfortunate, especially for a young black boy trying to grow up and learn his way, you know.
It's needed.
Absolutely. So it was us, and that's all we had.
Okay.
But I had cousins, you know, and you're aware of one of the cousins that I had.
Sir.
Exactly.
Yes,
so
yes, sir.
I had my
brother.
cousins. I had a younger cousin, which is a year younger than me, and we all
Yeah.
grew up together. So we had a family, it was tight-knit, and it was good enough. It was good enough to be able to do the things and to grow into the man that I've become today.
Nice.
Absolutely. So, just like any other person, you know, I think I had my traumas. I had my experiences with the dark side of life that led me into, you know, some more undesirable type of things. That being, you know, I wasn't that rich. You know, our family wasn't rich. We come from Detroit.
Yeah, I think everybody got a similar.
So everybody, right?
story.
It's a humble beginning, and what I can say about that is, either you learn to get what you need in life, or you fall back and you become one of the wasted.
Yeah.
And I just saw that I had an opportunity eventually as I was growing up, that if I'm not making much, my family is not making much, there's an opportunity or potential opportunity for me to make something. And so that kind of led me down a road of some more unscrupulous types of acts.
At what age?
I would say maybe the age of 13.
Let's talk about it.
We can. So I would say it had to have been like the senior year of my junior high, when I started to travel off into the dope game. See, this is the 80s. So,
It was plenty,
you know,
back
80s,
then.
Reagan was pushing his Reaganomics.
Yeah.
And the Reaganomics trickled down to the neighborhood and crack cocaine. So I would say that my first experiences with the game dealt with crack cocaine. And I used to sell crack. You know, it started off small.
Yeah.
You know, and I worked my way up. I had my neighborhood dudes that I fucked around with.
Yeah.
And I started getting bigger and bigger. And it felt good to be able to have something finally to be able to live life with. You know, something that I wanted, that I aspired to have, and I was able to get it.
Yeah.
even at a young age. So, you need to know anything in particular?
Dealing crack cocaine, what is some of the what's one of the wildest things you saw during the times you sold drugs?
Okay, I've seen fiends do just about anything for crack. They'll sell themselves, their body, they'll sell their morale. Like I've seen
Their kids.
Yeah, I've seen to the point where maybe pregnant women will be willing to use crack just to satisfy their habits,
What area did you grow up in?
So the crazy thing about that is I grew up on the west side originally. It wasn't until my teenage years that I moved on the east side. So I seen the transition and the changes and the differences. But to me, I didn't really see too much of a difference in the 80s because the whole city, to me, was flooded with crack cocaine.
Yeah. I've never seen the difference between the east side versus west side shit. Like everybody has their jokes, but you can go on the street on the west side and go on the street on the east side and it looks dilapidated.
Damn near the same
looks the
thing.
same.
I mean, especially today, that's the case. You had the more affluent sections on the west side closer to Southfield than it was, from where I'm from. I'm from what you call the 1-4, and that's Finkel.
Yeah.
And I grew up on the Finkel area around between Wyoming and Myers.
So I'm glad you said that because I think you're a little older than me. So
Can't be that much older.
did you don't take that personal. Now, did you see a difference in our neighborhoods before crack hit versus when it hit?
So I did.
Yeah.
I did. But the one thing that was consistent to me in the 80s was even though you had people who use cocaine, they were respectful.
Yeah.
Now even you see the drunks on the corner and they was respectful.
Yeah.
And we respected them. We knew what they did, we knew how they were, but we respected them. I see the difference today, if that's any consolation. We don't respect them, and they don't respect us, and it's just a dynamic shift towards how we treat each other. And so we would be more disrespectful today than we would people back then. That's just my view.
Okay. Now, selling drugs, did that lead into you getting into any trouble with the law?
Well, I mean,
or prison.
eventually, but for the most part, I'm gonna tell you, with the having a newfound capability of living your life, I got to experience a lot more than the normal.
Let's talk about it.
Right. So the normal to me, I'm not talking about the materialism and the cars and the houses and trying to pay for your mom and to live in a nice place. What I'm speaking about is I used to travel.
Yeah.
See, I wasn't not only just someone who sold drugs, but I had some foresight in the situation.
How old were you when you started traveling?
About 16.
Were you alone or with
No,
parents?
so I had my homies, who I used to hang out with, and we used to say, hey, you know what, let's hook up with these people and let's go there. You know what I'm saying? So I probably traveled the continental U.S., not international. International come later, but the continental U.S., I would say about 40 states. This at 16, and it's a funny way how that even happened. So I'm old school, I've been around for a minute. So I used to deal with. I was also somewhat of a inclined nerd. I used to know a lot of things when it came to technology,
Yeah.
and AOL was a thing back then. And I used to meet people online. How, it's so prevalent today, but I
Yeah.
used to do it back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And I used to meet people and we hook up and we talk about meeting each other and I go meet them. As simple as that. So, I've been in like the tech field
Yeah.
for a while.
Genius man. Yeah.
I ain't gonna say all that. But what I will say is I had some experience with the internet before it was the internet. Yeah, I had the old modem and all that stuff and we used to communicate with people. So I would meet people online and we'll set up an opportunity to meet each other. I mean, be it men, women, and children, people that is our age at the time, and I was like 16.
Yeah.
So, hey, I would travel like a motherfucker.
So I want to hear about these meetings.
Yeah,
with
so
these
I mean,
different people.
I remember this one particular time where me and my homie went out to West Virginia, and West Virginia ain't nothing but a bunch of hills, and so I don't want to say what type of people, I don't want to label a type of people, but some hillbillies.
Yeah.
But they was very accommodating. They showed us around their areas, what they do, how they get down, and it was something to experience. Like we lived in a house on a hill, and they they had a lot of shit going on,
Yeah.
and they were just like us, but they were just from a different place. So that experience led me to say, hey, everybody is just like us. We're just from different places.
For sure.
And it goes back to the east side, west side thing as well. Like, we the same, it's just we just from different
We are
places.
totally the same.
Right, we totally the same. We just, might feel a certain way about certain issues, you know what I'm saying? And I don't make no more money than you, but then I can make some more money than you, and I'm gonna let you know it. And that's it. That's really how I see the differentiation between places, locations, and shit like that. So I traveled from there to Iowa, to Texas, to California. I started going all over the place, meeting people. Yeah, I had some wild times, especially when I went to California. California is a very wild-ass place to be. There's a lot of celebrities out there, but everybody out there think they're a celebrity as well. And so they get down like celebrities. And I done had some fun times out there,
Okay.
So what was some of the wildest things?
Well,
that was happening?
that was probably one of my first exposures to what I would call risque type of activities, or
Can we break?
in layman's terms, let's say BDSM.
Can you please break down what BDSM means?
Okay, I believe that the nomenclature for BDSM, or the acronym for BDSM, it stands for bondage and sadomasochism. Now that's not my first experiences with BDSM. This to remind you. All right.
Please explain.
Okay, we'll get off into that maybe as we transition into
Okay.
what goes on
Okay. So
in California.
So I really I know a little bit about BDSM, but I don't know much about it. As someone that may not know anything about it, can you kind of break that down and explain exactly
I will,
what it is?
and I will mention that you make it easier for me to talk about stuff like that, which is usually a private situation.
For sure.
Because you gave me all this lubrication right here.
I gave you
like this. Look.
Pause. You can't say it. You can't say I gave you
Pause,
lubrication.
bro. Pause.
That's a pause.
He gave me lubrication. So to speak about it a little bit, some people is a genre where some people tend to.
It's very taboo, right?
Yeah, it's a way of life that people want to experience or have the inclinations to experience, but they don't. Like they want to be this, they want to try these things, but they don't. And when they don't, they miss out on a whole experience. So I became somebody who kind of lived in the experience, experienced it, and keep doing it every once in a while.
So what kind of leads into that? Is it like people get bored of like regular sex? It's just want to try something different?
I mean, you
or-
call it kink. You call it kink, but for the most part, it's something that we all do in some form of fashion, but now we put a label or a title to it.
Now, the BDSM, are there different roles
Absolutely.
in
So
BDSM?
absolutely.
Can you break that down?
absolutely. So then you have